Hello everyone, and welcome back to Stories with Mike. If you enjoy tales of grand kingdoms, forbidden love, and heartbreaking betrayals, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe to get our daily updates so you never miss a new story. Today, we journey to a kingdom steeped in tradition, a land ruled by the wise and powerful King Alden. He was a ruler respected by all, his commands shaping the destiny of his people. He commanded armies, built cities, and his word was law. But for all his might, there was one realm he couldn't conquer, one subject he couldn't command, his own heart. In the bustling streets of the capital, far from the polished halls of the palace, lived a young woman named Alara. She wasn't a princess or a lady of the court. She was a humble commoner, but her reputation preceded her. She was known throughout the city for her breathtaking beauty, but even more so for her boundless kindness and gentle spirit. She had a smile that could warm the coldest day and a heart that felt for every living creature. Her life was simple, yet rich in its own way. Fate, as it so often does in these stories, had a plan. One day, during a royal procession through the city, the king's procession was to pass right by the marketplace where Alara worked. Alden, usually preoccupied with matters of state even during these public appearances, found his gaze drifting over the crowd. And then he saw her. Across the sea of faces, his eyes met Alara's. It was a fleeting moment, just a single heartbeat in time, but for both of them, the world stood still. An undeniable connection, a spark of something powerful and profound, ignited between them. In that instant, King Alden knew he had seen a face he could never forget. The image of her smile was seared into his memory. Driven by a force he couldn't explain, Alden sought her out. He broke every rule of protocol, slipping away from the palace in disguise, just for a chance to speak with her. Their first conversation was tentative, shy, yet filled with an energy that neither had ever experienced. They spoke of simple things, her life in the city, his dreams for the kingdom. He was captivated not just by her beauty, but by her intelligence, her wit, and the genuine goodness that radiated from her. For Alara, this man, who she soon discovered was her king, was unlike anyone she had ever met. He wasn't just a distant figure of authority. He was warm, attentive, and he saw her, truly saw her, for who she was. Their love was a fire, kindled in that first glance, and fanned into a roaring flame by stolen moments and whispered conversations. They met in secret, under the cover of darkness, in secluded gardens and hidden alcoves of the palace. Away from the prying eyes of the court, he wasn't a king, and she wasn't a commoner. They were simply Alden and Alara, two souls deeply in love. He would read her poetry by moonlight, and she would tell him stories of the city, bringing a world to him that he had only ever viewed from his gilded cage. In her presence, the immense weight of the crown would lift from his shoulders. He felt a joy and a freedom he never knew was possible. For Alara, Alden opened up a world of knowledge, passion, and a love so deep it felt like a dream. Their bond was absolute, their devotion to one another unbreakable. Or so they thought. But a love like theirs, a secret of such magnitude, is a dangerous thing to keep within the walls of a royal court. The palace was a place of whispers and shadows, where ambition and jealousy were as common as the tapestries that lined the halls. As their secret love blossomed and their connection grew stronger, so too did the danger that surrounded them. Every stolen glance, every secret meeting, was a gamble. The risk of exposure loomed over them like a gathering storm, threatening to tear their idyllic world apart. They were happy, yes, but their happiness was fragile, built on a foundation of secrecy that could crumble at any moment. And crumble it did. Betrayal, when it came, struck from the one direction Alden never expected. His most trusted advisor, a man named Lord Valerius, had been the king's confidant for years. Alden had shared his thoughts, his fears, and his plans for the kingdom with him. He trusted Valerius with his life. But Valerius was a man consumed by his own ambition. He watched the king's growing affection for a commoner, not with concern for the kingdom, but with a heart full of bitter jealousy. He saw the king's love for Alara as a weakness, an obstacle to his own ascent to power. He craved the influence the king held, the power he wielded, and he saw a way to get it. Motivated by this toxic mix of jealousy and greed, Valerius began to watch the king's movements. He followed the whispers, connected the dots, and soon he held their secret in his hands like a weapon. Without a moment's hesitation, he chose to use it. Valerius went before the royal council, a body of powerful nobles who upheld the kingdom's rigid traditions above all else. He laid bare the king's affair, painting it not as a story of love, but as a tale of royal folly, a king who had forgotten his duty for a common girl. He spoke of the danger to the royal bloodline, the instability it would cause, and the shame it would bring upon the crown. His words were venom, and they found fertile ground in the council's conservative hearts. The consequences were immediate and devastating. The court was thrown into chaos. The nobles were outraged. They saw the king's love for Alara as a direct threat to the very structure of their society. They gave Alden an ultimatum, a choice so cruel it was barely a choice at all. He could renounce Alara, send her away forever, and restore order to the kingdom, thereby securing his throne and the stability of his realm. Or he could hold on to his love, defy the council, and watch his kingdom descend into civil war, a conflict that would tear his people apart and likely end with him being deposed and Alara's life in grave danger. He was a king, and a king's first duty is to his people. He was trapped. To protect Alara from the wrath of the nobles, and to save his kingdom from the brink of collapse, King Alden was forced to make the most painful decision of his life. He had to sacrifice his own heart. He had to let her go. Their final meeting was a tear-filled goodbye in the dead of night, a moment of pure agony. He explained the impossible choice he faced, the duty that bound him. He promised he would never forget her, that his heart would always be hers. And then she was gone. Alara disappeared from the capital, spirited away to a secret, unknown location to ensure her safety. She vanished from his life as quickly as she had entered it, leaving behind a silence that was deafening. King Alden remained on the throne. He saved his kingdom, upheld his duty, and maintained the peace. To his people, he was still the wise and powerful ruler they had always known. But those within the palace saw the truth. The light in his eyes had gone out. The joy that Alara had brought into his life was replaced by a profound and unshakable sorrow. He became a shadow of the ruler he once was, his heart forever broken, his spirit crushed by the weight of his sacrifice. He would walk the secret gardens where they had met, the echoes of her laughter haunting him. He ruled his kingdom, but he had lost his world, and so the king learned a brutal lesson. He learned that even a love as deep and true as his could be broken by the cold, hard realities of duty and the venom of betrayal. He was a king with a crown on his head, a scepter in his hand, and an entire kingdom at his command. But his heart remained empty, a desolate throne room where love once reigned. He was a ruler with no one to rule his heart, a king who had won the kingdom but lost himself. Thank you for joining me for this story. I hope it moved you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more tales from history and legend. We'll see you next time on Stories with Mike.